So when you're selling your home, is the fastest way to go the best way to go in this changing market where so many buyers and sellers and investors have gone to the digital world? The question really is it just better to go the faster route? So what I'm gonna talk about in this video is the idea of selling to an instant cash offer type buyer. There's so many out there. Zillow tried this, Open Door. I mean, there's so many different companies, and there's also in the local areas, there's a lot of kind of more mom and pop shops that'll buy any house cash if the price is right. So if you're not familiar, my name is Christian Stubbs and I am a team leader here at Onyx Homes. So this video, I really want to dive into this whole idea, not necessarily of iBuying, but to selling to somebody with an online offer, very easy, very cash. So let's dive into this. And I've got some of the most important things you're going to want to know, some of the most frequently asked questions that come up with this. So I want to answer all that in this video. So there really should be absolutely no secret that the real estate industry has finally gone very digital. And this has happened very much so in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, where people are shopping for homes online. And since the pandemic, we had people doing 3D tours, doing video walkthroughs, and purchasing properties they'd never actually seen before. Now, real you and me type consumers, not big, massive corporations that are just buying properties for the sake of buying properties. So this has become much more normal. And if there are companies that are willing to give you an offer on your home and there's really no strings attached, well, is that a bad thing? And how these companies typically work is they'll have some online advertising, or maybe they'll mail you something that suggests that, hey, if you want to find out what we would offer for your property cash, go ahead and go to this link, and you're going to fill out some basic information about obviously you for contact information, but about your home, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and the last time some of the things were renovated, some super basic questions, and then you literally get an offer. And some of these companies will say, this is the for sure number we'll pay. And some of the companies will say, here's a range, and we'll come out there and look at it, and then they'll go from there. But the reality is some of these companies will straight up just say, this is the number we'll buy the property for. Let us know if you want to move forward. You've got, 2 weeks or whatever to make a decision. Now, this is simple, right? Your information, some info about your property, and then you get an offer, and you could have your home sold within 30 days. Now, is this the best way to do it? It totally depends on what you are trying to accomplish. But I do have to say, as a real estate agent, this is a super untraditional way to sell your home, but there are definitely some benefits to this. There's no listing, right? You're not listing the home on the market, so your neighbors don't know about it, your friends, your family, nobody really needs to know about it, other than someday you're gonna be gone and somebody else will be living there, right? These people usually resell the property, so they probably wouldn't even know it was for sale if they didn't see you move out until the new sign's in the yard when they resell it. So there's no listing, there's no open houses, there's no tours. They're going to come through and do like an inspection to make sure that the home's in the condition that they thought it was, but they're not doing an inspection usually to ask for repairs. It really depends on the company you go with. There's no open houses, and you do not need to fix anything. They'll buy the house in any condition. And in a lot of circumstances, you don't even need to move stuff out. Like if you have, let's just say you were in a hoarder house situation, if you've seen that show Hoarders, they would just straight up buy that, and they'd probably factor in the cost of them needing to take all the stuff out into their offer. And if the numbers make sense for you as a seller, hey, great, that probably is a way better situation rather than taking everything out and trying to put it on the open market most of the time. So if selling your home with absolutely as little headache as possible is number one on your list of things to do, this is an incredible option. And frankly, there's so many different companies out there, you really do need to know what you're doing. And there are some really good ones. We've actually partnered with a couple. But frankly, you're skipping past all the traditional methods of selling a property, which really, frankly, includes us as a marketing company, making sure that everybody knows it's for sale. So if you have either a situation where you just want cash and you need cash quickly, or if you want more of a discreet sale, this is, again, an option. There are some other key benefits as well, too. They don't really care about the upgrade. So whether your house is brand new upgraded or old, they don't really care that much. And frankly, for some of these companies, it doesn't even affect the value that much, which is crazy. But number two is they don't really care about timelines. So if you say, hey, I want to sell my house to you, but I need to stay in it for an extra 30 or 45, 60 days, whatever, oftentimes that's no issue for this other person. They are willing to put the contract out, extend the close of escrow, or even close late and let you stay. So the last thing is, like I said, clearing out the house. If you have things you don't want to move, you don't want to deal with a dumpster, you just take your stuff out and they can do the rest. Or if you're inheriting a property that you just don't want to do anything with, you literally don't have to do anything other than sign paperwork. All right, so all of this might sound fantastic, but what is the trade-off? So ease, simplicity is the benefit. What really is the con? Well, in a lot of circumstances, and frankly, up until more recently, usually companies that would do this is buying cash and and really sight unseen type offers, these people were usually buying properties at somewhere between 60 to 70% of the real market value of that property. Meaning that if the home was worth $1 million, they'd pay $600,000 all day long for it. They don't really care what it looks like, because with that much margin in between what it's worth and what they're buying it for, shoot, if they almost had to rebuild the whole house, they'd probably still be okay. So that's how it's always really been. But as this space has got more and more and more competitive, that margin's got smaller and smaller and smaller. So where if you have a home that's not a tear down or anything like that, you can actually get pretty darn close to market value for your property. Now, keep in consideration as well too, one of the biggest misconceptions that people have when they're thinking about this iBuyer or this cash offer program is that it's significantly cheaper than selling with a real estate agent. And it can be, and some of them are way cheaper. Obviously, us as real estate professionals, I mean, we have to get paid somehow, right? And this is how we make a living, and it costs a lot of money to actually list a property correctly on the market nowadays because everything's so digital. So typically, when you are selling to one of these instant cash offer programs, they'll offer you a price, and some of them will say there's no fees, they'll pay all the closing costs and everything, and that's great. They are really baking that into the price. So they might be a little bit lower price, and they might charge no fees, or they might pay all of your fees, right? So there's no realtor fees, maybe there's no closing costs and all of that. Now, on the flip side, if they're offering a really high number for the property, there are companies that are charging anywhere from 5 to 12% in fees just to close that deal. So the offer price might look great, but you might be paying actually way more than you would be paying in fees than if you were to hire a real estate agent and go through the process correctly. Now, as I mentioned, there are so many different companies that do this, which is why we have partnered with a couple to make sure that we are able to negotiate for our clients and make sure that they're taking the best offer, right? If you're going to the first person who's willing to take or to give you a cash offer, my advice is, hey, why don't we go to a couple other vendors and get the best price for you, the consumer? So that's why you can still work with a real estate agent when you're going through this situation. Frankly, a lot of these people go directly to you, the seller, the consumer, and they market directly to you so that they can cut out a real estate agent. They market it to you as cutting out the real estate commissions and saving you a ton of money, when in reality is what they're really looking to do is take out the person that's going to help you negotiate the best deal, right? That's the major idea. And frankly, if I'm not able to negotiate you a better deal with our fee included, then it doesn't make sense for you, and you're better off to go off on your own and take your own offers. But more often than not, getting involved with us as professionals makes this process a little bit easier, but not every time. Really depends. So here's the reality of when you take an offer from one of these iBuyer or online buyers or whatever you want to call them, an instant offer type situation. When you go this route, you are foregoing the open market. And if you've been paying attention at all to the market, is it can do some funny things where we'll list a property for $1 million thinking that we're going to break a record hit if we sell it at $1 million, and it ends up selling for $1,025,000 or $1,050,000 or whatever. So when you go this route, you are bypassing and you're foregoing ever knowing what you could have sold it for on the open market. Now, if your offer is amazing and it's $990 and you maybe could have sold it for $1 million, then maybe that does make sense. But oftentimes there's a way bigger spread there, and you really don't know what you could have got out of the property, which is why it's so important to at least consult a real estate professional to say, hey, you really can sell it for a lot more than that. And I can pretty much guarantee you, if you're getting an offer from somebody that's cash, sight unseen, they'll buy it for this number, well, their goal is probably to resell it for more money than that. So it's a very high likelihood that you could have just sold it for more money in the first place. So if selling your house for the most money possible is the goal, this is never the route to go. And again, when you're negotiating with these types of buyers, don't just assume that their offer is their best and final. You gotta make sure that if you are not comfortable negotiating your deal, that you get somebody involved that can make sure there's no money left on the table at all. So we have a fun tool where you can actually go and you can share some of your information with us about your property, how to contact you, and what we'll do is we will give you an estimated value, home value right off the bat. And if you want to find out what your home would actually sell for cash, what I would then do is go to the company that we know will pay the most money for your house, and we would get you a cash offer. Now, we would share that with you, and if you didn't want to sell it, that's no problem. There, you have an idea what you could sell it for cash, and you'll have a really good idea of what the market value is. We'll also send you a full professional market analysis so you really know what it's worth. So you can see what it's worth versus what they're willing to offer and see how close that is. Now, if you do want to sell to them, then we just figure out what is the timeline, what needs to happen, and when do you want to make this thing happen. And so there's really no harm, there's no obligation, there's no cost, there's no fees, there's no nothing if you just want to find out what your cash offer would be. So I'll put that link in the description down below so you can go ahead and check that out. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. The link is down in the description. There's three things that happen. Well, this for? Number one, you're gonna fill out the form. Number two, you're gonna give us some basic information about the property. Then you're gonna get that estimated home value. That's gonna be your estimated market value. We'll then also give you a full market analysis on your property so you really know what it's worth. And then lastly, we'll go to the vendor that's gonna give you the highest cash offer, and we'll present you with what that could be. And if you choose to move forward, great. And if you don't, you have a really good idea of one, what your home's worth, and two, what you could get if you wanted to sell it for cash right now. So I hope this was helpful. There are a lot of different tools out there, and we are just trying to be a resource. We get this question all the time, so I really just wanted to explain what the iBuying or the instant offer type program really looks like. So if you have questions, reach out. Again, my name is Christian Stubbs, and I'll see you in the next video.